Hey friends, Shashank this side. I hope you all are doing well today and enjoying my AWS videos. So today we'll be going to discuss an important topic from pricing point of view provided by Amazon for our EC2 instances. So this is quite important topic to understand as this is the place where you will be going to understand the cost structure while building the service for your client. Like what are the certain options we should go for while designing or provisioning our system and provide a better infrastructure with a cost saving module to our clients. So I have jotted down few points regarding each option and I'll show you from where in EC2 console you can select these options. So let's review our point first and I'll show you the AWS Management Console. Again, this is theoretical part of the house, but again, quite important to understand from cost perspective because that is something very important while designing any infrastructure in any of the environment, regardless of your on-premise data center, Azure, AWS, or any other cloud vendors. So what are the options we have for purchasing of EC2 instances from Amazon? So again, the first slide is like the list of options that we have, and the next slides are the brief description on each of the purchasing option. So first and the famous, which is by default, whenever you provision any server, it goes into on-demand part. So by name it suggests, whenever you want to have a server, just spin up it and that will called as your on-demand, which certainly goes as a pay-as-you-go model. Second one is reserve instance. So we use reserve instance to save a lot of costs. So if you are aware, like this much of instance I am going to use for a longer duration, like 1 year or 3 year, then I'm gonna use reserve instance that will gonna save us like 70% cost saving as compared to on demand. So we'll get heavy discount price from Amazon. Third one is your schedule instance. So basically as per your schedule, you don't want, for example, you don't want to run your instance 24 cross 7 cross 365 days. Instead of you just want to run your instance 12 cross 5, like 12 hours, 5 days in a week. Based upon that, you can provision your schedule instance and you can save your cost as well. Again, this comes with for 1 year term. The next one is spot instance. So basically spot instance works on the bidding part. So you have to bid for a spot instance, which is unused EC2 instance that is available for less than on-demand pricing. So let's say, for example, if your on-demand is costing you around $2 per hour, then a spot instance will gonna cost somewhere around $0.5, like 50 cents. Again, this is an example. It's not an exact number. Okay, so you have to do a bidding in spot instances, which is like quite cheaper from on demand and the reserve one as well. Dedicated host, this is basically a physical server environment with EC2 instance capacity fully dedicated to your use. So just treat this like a physical server for you. The next one is dedicated instances. So instance that run in a virtual private cloud on a hardware that's dedicated to a single customer. So again, there is difference between dedicated host and dedicated instance. We're going to cover in that particular slide. The last one is your on-demand capacity reservation. Basically enable you to reserve the capacity of your EC2 instance in a specific availability zone for any duration. Okay, so you can like reserve number of instances in specified availability zone. So these are the options that we have for the purchasing of EC2 instance from Amazon. Now let's review in detail. The first one is on-demand instance. So what is on-demand instance? Instance basically that used based upon demand. So for example, I just want to spin up an instance for like hosting a website for a certain duration, let's say 1 month. Then I'm gonna provision my server with the help of launch instance command in EC2 console and few certain number of options to follow up. I'm going to provision that server regardless of Windows or Linux or Unix. So that is considered as on demand. Whenever I want to provision, I can provision from Amazon. You have full control of its life cycle. You decide when to launch, when to stop, when to hibernate, start, reboot or terminate it. It's totally depend upon you. So there is no long-term commitment from Amazon, like we're gonna have this particular server as an on-demand instance for 1 year. So till 1 year I have to use that. That comes something under reserve instances, not with the on-demand. So it's totally, the life cycle is totally depend upon you. You can terminate it after a use of 1 month. Again, you pay only for the seconds that your on-demand instance are running state. So whenever it's in running state, you're gonna charge per second basis. If it is in stopped state, this will not gonna get charged on the instance side. The price per second on running on-demand instance is fixed. So every instance type like T2 micro, M5 large, X1E large, or any other instance type. So every on-demand instance has a fixed costing. There is no variable costing for on-demand. Now, recommendation where you can use on-demand instances for the application with short-term, irregular workload that cannot be interrupted. What does that mean? So as I said, I want to have a staging environment created. So obviously I don't want to contain my staging environment for such a longer duration as compared to my production environment. Then I'll gonna create, or instead the dev environment basically. So these environments can be provisioned for the shorter duration, and we can go ahead and test our application on the staging or test environment. After testing, the validation is successful, we can terminate this. And irregular workload basically, not a consistent one. On-demand instance limit. So there is a limit of running on-demand instance per AWS account per region. By default, what I remember is 20. You can provision 20 instances in one region for AWS account. So this is something, a basic overview, a brief overview of on-demand instance. I hope this clears a lot when to use on-demand instance and what kind of pricing model it follows. Next one is reserve instance, which is quite important. From my perspective as an architect, I would suggest if you are having a long-term commitment, then go for reserve instance because that will save you a lot of cost as well as you will get a heavy discount rate from Amazon as compared to your on-demand instance. So this provides a significant discount compared to on-demand. As I said, instances are not physical instances, but rather a billing discount applied to use on-demand instance in your account. So basically what happens, as I said, whenever you provision any servers in Amazon, you will get the servers as an on-demand instance. Now, once that on-demand instance is done, what you can do, you can apply or you can raise a support case with Amazon or with your TAM. You can contact with your TAM that I want to use this particular server for a longer term of duration. So let's convert this on-demand instance into my reserve instance so that I can stay with this instance for 1 year or 3 year longer term. So they are like two term commitment. One is 1 year and other is 3 year commitment. There is nothing called 2 year commitment with Amazon for reserve instance. And if you are going for 3 year commitment, you will gonna get a bigger discount from Amazon. So these are on-demand instances must match certain attributes in order to benefit from billing discount. So as I said, every server will get as on-demand provision. So every type, so we have to select a type. For example, I want to provision M5 large. So I want to have the reservation of M5 large for 20 instances. Then I can have that 20 instance converted to my reserve one, and I'll gonna use that for 3 year commitment. That totally depend upon the requirement, 1 year or 3 year. That's the option we have. And I'll be saving a lot of cost as compared to my on-demand. So 1 year, a year defined with this much of seconds in 365 days, and 3 year commitment is something this much of seconds in 1095 days. So that's 3 years for us. So as I said, we have, so I have taken this diagram from Amazon. So this is an on-demand T2 instance. I have purchased the reserve instance that makes my T2 instance into reserved with a discounted rate. And again, on the other side, I'll gonna purchase C4 instance as a reserve one. And again, when you launch C4 instance, that will be counted in your reserve instance type, and you'll be getting a heavier discount. So this is something all about our reserve instance. There is another slide for reserve instance in terms of the payment option. So there are like three kind of payment you can do. All upfront. So full payment is made at start of the term with no other cost or additional hourly charges incurred for a remainder of term regardless of the hours used. That is something. If you have a commitment for 3 years and if you are going for all upfront payment, you have to pay everything in advance. Partial upfront. So a portion of cost must be paid upfront and remaining hours in terms of billed at discounted hourly rate, regardless of whether the reserve instance is being used or not. So that is something. One half of the payment should be done at upfront and next half based upon the hours. And last one is no upfront. So your bill will be discounted on the hourly rate for every hour within the term, regardless of whether reserve instance is being used or not. No upfront payment is required. That is the no upfront payment. So these are the three options of payment that we have with reserve instances. Now, offering class. If your computing need change, you may be able to modify or exchange your reserve instance depending upon the offering class. So there are like two: standard, where it provides most significant discount but can only be modified, and convertible, so it cannot be converted. Standard cannot be considered as a converted one. Convertible is something at lower discount than standard, but you can exchange for another convertible instance with a different instance attribute. So this can be modified as well. So what basically this means, you have purchased something and now you want to convert to other instance, so you want to do an exchange with another instance type, then you can go for this convertible. So these options are provided by Amazon as an offering class for reserve instances. Okay, so the next one is scheduled instance, which, as I said, if you don't want to run your server like 24/7 cross 365 days, instead you want to run 12 hours 5 days a week, then go for the reserve instance, which comes with a 1 year commitment again, which enable you to purchase capacity reservation that reoccur on a daily, weekly or monthly basis with a specified start time duration for a 1 year term basically, and are the good choice for workloads that do not run continuously but do run on a regular schedule, as I said, on a certain time interval. So what you have to do, first the availability check is required whether schedule instance is available with Amazon or not. Then you have to go for purchase, then term begins like 1 year term, and then based upon your requirement try to schedule your the schedule instance, and from there you can do a cost saving as well. So the next one is spot instance. So spot instance is basically available at lower pricing than on demand price, and this is one of the cheapest one and good for small duration like few hours to few days, not more than that. And again, these are the instance that enable you to request unused EC2 instance at steep discount. What does that mean? So basically these works on the bidding pricing. Okay, you have to bid for the spot instances, and when these instances are available in the Amazon pool, once you win the bid you will get the instance. Okay, so basically when you place a bid and if that instance is available at that particular bid price, then you will get it, but there is a limitation. If the bid price goes higher than that, then Amazon will gonna pull the instance automatically to its pool. So that's one of the demerit, I would say, for spot instance. But again, if you are using for like few hours to few days, then spot is one of the good solution which will provide you the higher CPU processing. You can go for the higher end servers as well, and that will cost you on the lesser side of the house. Okay, as I said, this is very cost effective choice if you can be flexible on what your application is running on and if your application can be interrupted. So When I say can be interrupted, that is something Amazon, if the bid price goes higher than that, then Amazon will gonna pull that, but Amazon will give you certain duration to move your application. Okay, so there is a difference table between spot instance and on demand. One is the launch time. Spot instance can only be launched immediately if spot request is active and capacity is available in the Amazon pool. But on demand can be launched immediately, anytime, either through manual approach or through automation. You can do it at any time, any duration. Available capacity, if capacity is not available, you will continue to automatically make a launch request until the capacity is available. But in on-demand instances, if capacity is not available, when you make a launch request, you get insufficient capacity error. So you have to, let's say, as I said, we get by default 20 instances as an on-demand for each region in an Amazon account. So once you are done with 20, you have to request with support that increase my pool. Next is the pricing model. Hourly price for spot instance varies based upon the demand. Again, as I said, this is totally on the bid pricing level instance. So that's why spot instance varies on demand on the hourly pricing. Whereas on demand instance, this hourly price is static. It's not a variable one. Next is the most important, instance interruption. You can't stop and start Amazon EBS backed spot instance. So once you are done with, or once you have taken the spot instance, you won't be able to manage the start stop of Amazon EBS backed up spot instance. Only Amazon EC2 spot service can do this. Okay, so EC2 spot service can interrupt an individual spot instance if the capacity is no longer available, and as I said, if the bid price goes higher, or basically on demand, the for spot instance increases, then they will gonna pull up. But as compared to on demand, or in on demand rather to be specific, you determine when on-demand instance is interrupted. So the total life cycle of on-demand instance will be managed by yourself, that we have discussed on the second slide of on-demand. Okay, the next one is dedicated host and dedicated instance. So dedicated host, as I said, it acts as a physical server with EC2 instance capacity, full dedicated to your use. And dedicated hosts allow you to use your existing per socket, per core, or per VM software licenses, including Windows, SQL, SUSE, Linux Enterprise, and so on. So these are the options. Just as a physical server where you have install all the softwares, all the operating systems, that totally depend upon you. And dedicated hosts allow you to do that. That's one of the best thing. But on the pricing side, obviously as compared to on demand, which are the virtual environment, this always costs on the higher side. Dedicated instances. So Amazon EC2 instance that basically runs a virtual private environment on a VPC, on a hardware that is dedicated to single customer. So basically, if you want to dedicate an instance to a customer and don't want to interact other customer to get in this particular zone, then dedicated instance can be very useful. Dedicated instance again belong to different AWS account and are physically isolated at hardware level. In addition, dedicated instance that belong to AWS accounts that are linked with a single pair account are also physically isolated at hardware level. So what does that mean? So let's say you have two different accounts and those accounts are linked by a parent account, which is done by AWS organization, another different concept altogether. So even those two accounts are linked with the single one, that case as well, dedicated instances are segregated at your hardware level. Okay. However, dedicated instance may share your hardware with other instances from same AWS account that are not dedicated instance. So it cannot be shared between dedicated, but can be shared between dedicated to non-dedicated account. So there is a difference, as I said, dedicated host and dedicated instance. What is the difference? Basically, on the billing side, dedicated host get billed per host billing and dedicated instance per instance basically. Visibility on the socket, core and host ID. It provides you the visibility because everything is getting controlled by you. But on dedicated instance, no visibility is there. Host and instance affinity, there is no support with a dedicated instance. But with the host, you can consistently basically you can deploy your instances on the same physical server. Just act like your laptop is a physical machine and you can install number of VMs on your laptop, right? Then we have automatic instance recovery, which is supported in dedicated host and as well as in instance. Bring your own license concept is also supported in host but not in instance. So bring your own license is a concept where you have an agreement. So for example, for SQL Server, you have an agreement with a Microsoft that it's a BYOL. Then that will also gonna save a lot of cost in terms of hosting the environment in Amazon. Okay, so this is the basic difference between host and instance. And the last one is on-demand capacity reservation. So on-demand capacity reservation, by name it suggests, it's basically allow you to reserve the capacity of EC2 instances in specific availability zone for any duration. Okay, so let's say you want to reserve 100 instance, okay, which are basically on demand for availability zone 1A in Northern Virginia, and there is like no commitment on the duration. You can do it for any duration. Now this will give you ability to create and manage your capacity reservations independently from your the billing discounts offered by reserve instances. So by creating capacity reservation, you also ensure that you have access to your EC2 capacity when you need it, for how long you need it. So the duration is totally defined by you. Okay, there is no long-term commitment that we have like in reserve instances. It can be created anytime without entering into 1 year or a 3 year commitment, as I said, and capacity is available immediately. And when you no longer needed this, then you can cancel the capacity reservation to stop the charges. So as I said, there is no commitment required for capacity reservation, can be created and cancelled as needed. Now, these are the reserve instances, basically zonal and regional, where we have 1 and 3 year of commitment. Capacity benefit, there is one limitation, stick to one availability zone. I mean, not multiple, but with reserve instances, it's also a specific availability zone, but you don't have to reserve the capacity in the availability zone. Billing discount, there is no billing discount with capacity reservation. Instance launch into capacity reservation, charged at on-demand rates. However, regional reserve instances can be used with capacity reservation to get the billing discount. And obviously with reserve instances, you will get a heavy discounts. Instance limit, limited to your on-demand instance per region. This can be increased, as I said. And for reserve instances, zonal, 20 per availability zone can be increased, and on the regional side 20 again can be increased. So these are the different options, the pricing option we can go for while selecting our Amazon EC2 instances. And again, you have to be very sure, because this is where you will be doing a cost saving a lot. So for my preference, I would go for reserve instances if I know that I have a commitment of running my instance 3 years, for 3 years or 1 year. So I'll go for reserve instances rather than on demand, where I'm giving more cost to Amazon. On the other side, on the specific availability, specific availability time you want to run, then go for the schedule instances. So all those options are available with you. Spot is also a good option, but certain number of hours to days, not for the longer commitment. And dedicated is always costlier than the virtual environment. So depend upon the client what they are requesting, we can go for it. So let's go to AWS Management Console. I'm into my EC2 console as of now. So on the instance side, on the left hand side, you can see we have spot request. So let's click spot request. Then we have reserve instances. So from here, you can purchase your reserve instance. So as of now, I don't have anything with me because this is my demo account and I don't do any kind of purchasing with my demo account. So you can see we are getting the platform, Windows, Linux with SQL, then the instance type. These are hell lot of options that we have. So let's say if you are going for C4 large, default tenancy or dedicated. So obviously I'll go for default because as of now I'm not using any dedicated with any of the client. Term 1 month to 12 month and 12 month to 36 months. So 1 year and 3 year. Offering class convertible standard, again convertible you can convert, and standard is the default one. And payment option, no upfront, partial upfront, all upfront. And go ahead and click search. So these are the options that we have for 12 months. Effective rate is $6.063. Upfront cost 0. Hourly rate is same. Standard, unlimited quantity. You can select the desired quantity you want. Then normalized unit per hour. It's 4 by default for all. And you can see we have partial upfront for like third party. Then we have AWS as well for 12 months. Then 36 month we have all upfront mostly, and all the costing. So basically we are seeing all the costing and the instance type that we can select with the purchasing of reserve instances. On the other hand, spot one. So this is the dashboard for spot. You can go for request spot instance. So again, this will going to show us certain number of options. So tell your application or task needed. Load balancing workload, flexible, big data, defined duration. So again, defined duration is like 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, as I said, for certain number of hours to certain number of days. And you can select again, as per your requirement, you can select the instance type, in which VPC, availability zone, key pair, and all those things basically you have to give. And the fleet request basically over here, C3 large, 2 virtual CPU, 3.75 gigs. This will gonna cost you around 0.0294, and as compared to the on demand, we are saving almost 72% of our cost. Now your fleet contains sufficient instance pool. So we have a availability of the pool as well. 3 instance types, 6 availability zone, 18 instance pool. So all these can be done over here, and you can see since I have selected one, so one instance is 2 virtual CPUs, 3 gigs of RAM, 6 availability zone. Fleet is strong, and hourly cost is almost 0.018 per hour, which is nothing. Okay, and we are saving almost 71% as compared to our on demand. When you click launch, and you also get the JSON config, and when you click launch you will get the instance. But again, remember, if the price of the bidding goes higher, Amazon will gonna pull this up. Then we have dedicated host. Click on this. Now from here you can allocate your host. I'm not going to do that for now. Then we have schedule instances. Purchase, you have to purchase for 1 year contract. So you can do that purchase, and here you can like give starting from for the durations, daily. So you are defining a schedule. Okay. Based upon that, you can do this as well. Now let's go to our, okay, let's go back. Last one is the capacity reservation. Again, you can create a capacity reservation with the instance type. These are the instance types supported, and based upon the platform, availability zone. Okay, dedicated run a shared hardware, and dedicated run a dedicated instance basically. You want to reserve at manual, so you can cancel my reservation when I'm finished, or specific time, open, targeted, like only accept the instance that specify this reservation. So that is the option we have with this particular capacity reservation as well. Okay, so these are the options that we have. I showed you how to do that and where you can find in the EC2 console. So just try to understand the concept, why we need reserve instance, where we can use a reserve, where we can use on demand, spot, or dedicated. So based upon that, try to build your environment, build your infrastructure with a cost saving approach. And if you are facing an issue with the understanding, just place out a comment in comment section and I'll be there to help you. Have a nice day. Bye bye.